It is 3:41 a.m. The Western Pacific Ocean, 480 nautical miles east of the Chinese coastline, in international airspace that no provision of any treaty, any customary international law, or any unilateral declaration by any government in Beijing has ever successfully restricted from use by any nation's military aircraft exercising their internationally recognized rights of overflight. The sky at this hour is a solid, deep black, moonless cloud cover at 22,000 feet, blocking what little starlight might otherwise have reached the airspace below, creating a darkness so complete that a pilot in an unlit cockpit at 8,000 feet could not see a formation aircraft at 200 meters. But nobody in this airspace tonight is navigating by eye. Nobody needs to. The sensors that matter in this engagement are not biological. They are electronic, infrared, and radar-based. And in the competition between those sensors, one side brought technology that was current when the Reagan administration was in its second term, and the other side brought technology that was current last Tuesday. USS Theodore Roosevelt, CVN-71, is operating in a modified racetrack pattern at the center of her strike group, 480 nautical miles from the nearest point of Chinese-claimed territory and 340 nautical miles from the Chinese mainland coast. She has been in this operating area for 22 hours, conducting the kind of persistent, visible, legally unimpeachable freedom of navigation and theater security presence that the United States Pacific Fleet has maintained in the Western Pacific continuously since 1945. Her flight deck completed its last launch cycle 3 hours ago. The Combat Information Center is fully manned, as it always is, because a carrier operating 480 miles from China does not reduce its COIC watch regardless of flight deck tempo. And any commanding officer who believes otherwise has badly misread the operational environment. The E-2D Advanced Hawkeye that has been on station 110 nautical miles to the northwest since 9 p.m. the previous evening is on its fourth orbit of the current patrol station when its AN/APY-9 radar detects the contacts at 3:41 a.m. 2, then 4, then 6, as the radar's moving target indicator processing algorithm distinguishes individual aircraft from the cluster of returns that initially appeared as a single large contact at the edge of the E-2D's detection range. 6 contacts. Large. The radar cross-section of each is substantial, significantly larger than a fighter aircraft, significantly larger than a medium transport. The emission profile that the E-2D's Passive Electronic Support Measures Suite receives alongside the radar picture is diagnostic within 14 seconds. H-6 series navigation radar, 6 emitters, the specific Type 042 navigation radar fitted to the H-6K variant. Type 042 frequency, pulse repetition interval, and scan rate are in the classified threat library. They have been in the library since 2014. H-6K, 6 of them. Bearing 289, range 310 nautical miles from the E-2D, altitude 8,500 feet, speed 410 knots on a course of 095 due east. A course that, projected forward at 410 knots, places all 6 aircraft at a point 480 nautical miles east of their current position in approximately 70 minutes. A point that, at USS Theodore Roosevelt's current speed and heading, will be occupied by the Carrier Strike Group. The H-6K deserves a detailed technical examination because Chinese state media's presentation of this aircraft has consistently outpaced its actual operational capabilities in ways that are directly relevant to what is about to happen tonight. The H-6K is China's most modern operational strategic bomber, a significant statement that requires immediate qualification because China's most modern operational strategic bomber is a derivative of the Soviet Tu-16 Badger, an aircraft that first flew in 1952. The original Tu-16 was a capable medium bomber for its era. The H-6K is the product of decades of Chinese modification to the Tu-16 airframe, new turbofan engines that significantly improved range and fuel efficiency, a modernized glass cockpit that replaced the original analog instrumentation, new avionics, and most importantly, the integration of the CJ-20 air-launched cruise missile, a weapon with a claimed range of 2,000 kilometers that transformed the H-6K from a straight bomber into a standoff strike platform. The CJ-20 is real. Its range is real. And the H-6K, carrying CJ-20S at 300 nautical miles from a carrier strike group, is operating within what Chinese military doctrine describes as the first island chain's anti-access bubble, the envelope in which the H-6K's weapons can theoretically reach American naval assets. This is the capability that Chinese state media has been showcasing at every major military parade since 2015. The aircraft and weapon combination that Beijing presents as evidence that American carriers are no longer safe in the Western Pacific. The argument is not without some theoretical merit, which is precisely why the F-22s are here tonight. But before we discuss the F-22s, let us complete the H-6K's technical assessment, because the gap between what the aircraft can do in a parade and what it can do in an actual combat engagement against a prepared carrier strike group is substantial. The H-6K has a radar cross-section that American radar engineers, reviewing open-source data on the aircraft's dimensions and construction, have estimated as consistent with a small commercial airliner. Approximately 100 square meters of RCS at most aspect angles, a function of the aircraft's age, its non-stealthy construction, and its unpainted metal skin that reflects radar energy with the enthusiasm of a large mirror. At 310 nautical miles, this radar cross-section is detectable by the E-2D's AN/APY-9 radar. At 200 nautical miles, it is detectable by the AN/SPY-1DV radar aboard USS Theodore Roosevelt's escorts. At 100 nautical miles, it would be detectable by every radar in a 50-mile radius. The H-6K is not a stealthy platform. It is a large, bright radar return, flying in a straight line at 410 knots, and it has been in track on the E-2D's display since 3:41 a.m. The H-6K's self-defense capability is limited. It carries a tail gun, a 23mm cannon in the rear turret position, manned by a gunner whose operational role in an engagement against modern air-to-air missiles is, to put it charitably, ceremonial. It can carry air-to-air missiles of the short-range variety for self-defense, but the H-6K is not a maneuverable aircraft. Its pilot workload in a multi-threat environment is high, and the aircraft's size and speed profile make it a significantly easier target for an air-to-air missile than the fighters it would nominally defend against. Chinese state media does not discuss the H-6K's air combat survivability against fifth-generation fighters. The reason for this omission is straightforward. The E-2D downlinked its contact picture to every ship and aircraft in the Theodore Roosevelt strike group at 3:41:47 a.m., 47 seconds after first track confirmation. The strike group commander was in the CIC at 3:43 a.m., having been alerted by the watch officer 90 seconds after the contact picture transmitted. He looked at the picture. 6 H-6K contacts, bearing 289, range now 298 nautical miles, closing at 410 knots. He looked at the time. He looked at the bearing from which the contacts were approaching. He made a calculation. Then he picked up the handset, connecting him to the E-2D's control frequency. Eagle Eye, Roosevelt Strike. I need the H-6K packages CJ-20 employment range confirmation. What is their current range to our formation? Roosevelt Strike, Eagle Eye. Current range H-6K lead element to strike group center, 306 nautical miles. CJ-20 maximum employment range, 1,080 nautical miles at high altitude release. H-6K contacts are currently within CJ-20 employment range. He acknowledged the transmission. He had known the answer before he asked the question. He asked it because he wanted it on the voice recording of the CIC. The formal operational record clearly stated the H-6Ks were within CJ-20 employment range. That fact, combined with the approach vector, the formation geometry, and the time of night, was sufficient justification for everything that was about to happen. Battle stations, he said. Get me the F-22 package on the secure net. And I want the Hawkeye repositioned to the intercept corridor. The F-22A Raptors, 4 of them from the 90th Fighter Squadron, 3rd Wing, currently forward deployed to Kadena Air Base on Okinawa, had been airborne since 2:15 a.m., 86 minutes before the H-6K contacts appeared on the E-2D's radar. They had refueled from a KC-135 stratotanker over the Central Pacific at 3 a.m. and established their current station at 42,000 feet, 140 nautical miles northwest of USS Theodore Roosevelt, in a position geometrically between the H-6K formation and the carrier. Their radar systems were in low probability of intercept mode, emitting at power levels and in waveforms specifically designed to build tracking quality data on everything in the surrounding airspace without generating detectable emissions that an adversary's radar warning receivers would flag as a threat. The H-6K's Type 042 navigation radars were in the F-22S track files. The H-6K formation's position, speed, heading, and altitude had been known to the F-22 crews since 3:41 a.m., the same moment the E-2D detected them. The H-6K crews had no awareness of the F-22s whatsoever. At 42,000 feet, with LPI radar, a formation of H-6Ks at 8,500 feet and 410 knots generates no upward-looking radar coverage that would detect a fifth-generation fighter above them. And the F-22's radar cross-section of approximately 0.0001 square meters, a figure that engineers describe as roughly equivalent to a marble in reflective terms, produces returns on the H-6K's own forward-looking radar that are, in any practical operational sense, zero. The H-6Ks did not know the F-22s were there. The F-22s had been tracking the H-6Ks for 17 minutes before the first radio contact was made. At 3:58 a.m., with the H-6K formation now at 183 nautical miles from the carrier and closing steadily, the lead F-22 pilot made her first transmission on the International Emergency Frequency. The message was professional, precise, and delivered in English. 6 unidentified large aircraft on an approach vector toward United States Navy vessels operating in international airspace were directed to identify themselves, state their intentions, and alter course immediately. The transmission identified the calling aircraft as a United States Air Force aircraft operating in international airspace. It did not identify the specific aircraft type. There was no operational reason to tell the H-6K crews they were being addressed by F-22s. The response came 31 seconds later. A transmission in Mandarin, identified by the direction finding system as originating from the lead H-6K, stated that the Chinese aircraft were People's Liberation Army Air Force aircraft conducting routine training operations in airspace subject to Chinese jurisdiction, and that the American aircraft were directed to depart immediately. The transmission cited a set of Chinese domestic airspace regulations that have no legal standing over international waters under any recognized interpretation of international aviation law. It was scripted. It was recorded. It would be reviewed later by people in Beijing who would decide whether the script needed updating based on how this encounter developed. At 4:03 a.m., the lead F-22 pilot made a decision that the H-6K crews were not prepared for. She activated her AN/APG-77 radar in a full-power, non-LPI emission directed at the lead H-6K. Not a brief pulse. A sustained, deliberate, fire control quality track illumination lasting 4.2 seconds. The H-6K's radar warning receiver registered the AN/APG-77 emission in the first 0.3 seconds. The classification took 1.1 seconds. AN/APG-77 F-22 Raptor, fire control mode, bearing high, directly above and slightly ahead. Range estimate from signal strength, approximately 18 nautical miles. 18 nautical miles. Above them, fire control mode. An aircraft they had not detected and could not see on any sensor they were operating. The lead H-6K pilot's next transmission was not in the scripted format. It was faster, higher in pitch, and directed at the PLAAF ground control station rather than the International Guard frequency. The ground control station, monitoring the situation from a facility in Fujian province, received the situation report and the radar warning data simultaneously. The H-6K crew was reporting a fire control radar lock from an unknown American aircraft at 18 miles, undetected until the moment of lock, position high. The ground controller's response was delayed by 8 seconds, an eternity in tactical communications, while the available information was processed by whoever in the chain of command was awake and authorized to make a decision at 3:58 a.m. Beijing time. The decision, when it came, was prudent. The ground controller instructed the H-6K formation to abort the approach and return to base. The lead H-6K began its turn at 4:04:33 a.m., 91 seconds after the AN/APG-77 illumination. A gradual, coordinated turn to port, swinging from course 095 to course 270, due west, back toward the Chinese coast. The formation held its spacing well as all 6 aircraft executed the course reversal. The H-6K crews were professional. Their formation discipline in the turn was good. Their situational awareness regarding what had just happened to them was, by contrast, limited. They knew they had been illuminated by an F-22 fire control radar from a position they had not detected. They did not know how long the F-22s had been there before the illumination. They did not know that 4 F-22s were present rather than 1 or 2. They did not know that the entire approach had been tracked from the moment the H-6K's own navigation radars activated at their departure field, and that every emission the H-6K formation had generated for the past 39 minutes was sitting in a collection archive at the E-2D's Intelligence Processing Station at 4:06 a.m. with all 6 H-6K contacts on westbound headings and opening from the carrier at 410 knots. The strike group commander authorized the F-22S to shadow the formation for 40 nautical miles of its withdrawal before breaking off. The shadowing was deliberate. It put F-22 radar emissions, LPI mode this time, tracking without detection, on the H-6K as its aft aspect for 40 miles of their retreat, collecting the radar warning receiver's response to being tracked from behind, the gunner's sector scan patterns, any communications changes triggered by the awareness of being followed. All of it collected, all of it archived, all of it useful. The F-22s broke off the shadow at 4:19 a.m. and returned to their assigned station northwest of the carrier. By 4:19 a.m., the H-6K formation was 78 nautical miles west of its closest approach to the carrier, still in formation, still flying west, putting distance between themselves and the engagement zone at every knot their turbofan engines could produce. The E-2D maintained track on all 6 contacts until they descended below the radar horizon at 4:51 a.m. In the CIC aboard Theodore Roosevelt, the strike group commander reviewed the engagement timeline that his watch team compiled as the contacts faded from the display. The H-6K formation had closed from 310 nautical miles to a minimum distance of 163 nautical miles from the carrier before the abort, never achieving the sub-100 nautical mile range that Chinese operational doctrine requires for high confidence CJ-20 employment against a maneuvering target in an active electronic warfare environment. The F-22s had been in track on the H-6Ks for 17 minutes before the first radio contact. The fire control illumination had produced an abort in 91 seconds. The entire encounter, from first E-2D contact to H-6K formation clearing the radar horizon on withdrawal, had lasted 70 minutes. USS Theodore Roosevelt had not altered course, had not reduced speed, had not changed any operational parameter in response to the approach. The intelligence package from the encounter was substantial. The H-6K's navigation radar emission profiles at operational power settings. The tail gunner's radar emission profile during the formation's approach phase. The PLAAF ground control communication traffic and its timing relative to the F-22 illumination event. The H-6K formation's response time from illumination to abort, 91 seconds from AN/APG-77 activation to course reversal, a behavioral benchmark that would refine future F-22 employment doctrine for H-6K intercept missions. And the most operationally significant data point of the entire encounter, the H-6K formation's approach to 163 nautical miles before abort, meant that for 39 minutes, 6 large Chinese strategic bombers had been tracked, logged, and held at fire control quality track by American sensors they could not detect, in a geometry where the engagement decision rested entirely with the American commander, who had determined that the situation did not yet require anything beyond a single 4.2-second radar illumination. The H-6K bomber is the centerpiece of China's long-range conventional strike narrative. It is the aircraft that Chinese state media deploys most frequently in coverage of PLAAF operations to assert that the era of unchallenged American carrier dominance in the Western Pacific is ending. The H-6K and its CJ-20 missiles represent, in Beijing's strategic communications, the argument that the distance from the Chinese coast at which an American carrier is safe is shrinking, that every nautical mile the carrier moves west toward China is a nautical mile deeper into a contested zone, where Chinese air power can hold American naval forces at risk. Tonight's encounter reveals the limits of that argument. The H-6K's approach vector was detected 310 nautical miles from the carrier by an airborne radar system that the H-6K cannot match and cannot evade. The H-6K's approach was shadowed for 39 minutes by F-22s that the H-6K sensors never detected. The approach was terminated at 163 nautical miles from the carrier by a 4.2-second radar illumination from a position the H-6K crew had no awareness of until the moment the AN/APG-77 activated. The CJ-20 missiles that represent China's primary conventional strike argument against carrier operations were never employed. Not because the H-6K crews lacked the will to employ them, but because the F-22s were in a position that made employment a transaction the PLAAF's Ground Control Authority chose not to authorize. A 1952 Soviet bomber design, however modernized, attempting a night approach on a carrier defended by F-22 Raptors in the Western Pacific, ended in the only way it was ever going to end. The H-6Ks turned west. The F-22s watched them go. USS Theodore Roosevelt continued her transit without changing course. China's proudest long-range bomber couldn't close to weapons range of a carrier it never even detected the defenders of. The Western Pacific remains exactly what international law says it is: international airspace, navigable by all, owned by none. Bye for now.